Hello friends, this is Ryan Hicks of TaughtToProfit.com. Today I want to talk to you about how luck might be the missing ingredient to your success. Now I know I had another video where I talked about the luck factor and how the harder you work, the luckier you get, that old saying, and how much that is really true, that if you really will work hard and you're smart about your work and you're constantly making progress and having momentum on your side, you tend to be the most lucky people, what we call luck. You tend to have the most luck of anyone in the world because you're basically making your own luck. But there is a reality in business. I've seen too many business people, successful business people, these aren't failures, these are successful people, and they literally have no idea how they became successful. I've seen interviews, I've read thousands of business books, and you learn that some of these people know nothing about business or how they got to where they are, and they could never duplicate the results they got. And so you see in some cases, yes, it is timing. As the scripture says, time and chance happeneth to them all. There are just things that happen sometimes and you're in the right position at the right time. Now it is because of your hard work, because if you weren't doing the work on the business in the first place, then you wouldn't be in the position to be at the right time. So it's not just a matter of sitting around waiting for timing and waiting for luck to strike. You have to be doing something. So if you're actively in the business and you're having momentum and you're progressing and you're constantly at it, these things seem to happen for you. But there is time and chance that's very important in this. For example, when MySpace was around, it's a social media network, Facebook came up and they were in the right place at the right time. MySpace at that time had started getting flooded with spam, and it was just music playing when you logged in, and it was just a very unfriendly environment to be. And Facebook came in and was simple and easy to use, and it just took over. The point being, it wasn't that Facebook necessarily was better. It was in some cases, but it was at the right time. If it had came in right when MySpace was hitting its peak, before it started going downhill, it may have fell by the wayside. But it was just the right timing to be in there and become successful. This happens time and time again. Now, in business, you see many people do not know how they got to where they were, and some of it just seems like luck. Now, obviously, they were in the business, they were doing things, they were working. So it wasn't just like one day they opened their mailbox and there was a business plan and a business already done for them and checks coming in for a business they never did. Of course, they were working, they were active, they were getting their business going. It just happened to be also perfect timing. This is why when you set your hands to something, you need to finish it. Start to do something, do it. Get it over with. If you get an idea, write it down and start taking action on that. Too many people wait around, they ponder and they plan and they do all these things and never do anything except planning and writing and talking about doing things. When you get out there and you just keep on working and pushing forward, you will find that sometimes things just work out perfectly for you. And you do the same thing somebody else tried to do and they failed at, and you find success. It's not luck, but there is timing, that just the right perfect timing that comes into play that makes it work for you. And we've seen business people who had this right timing and then they try to do something else and they fail miserably. I've seen numerous people, read numerous interviews, books from individuals about their lives, and they did something, they were successful, and they tried other things, and it was just failure after failure after failure because they didn't realize that that timing was so perfect for them when they started the other business. And now they just think they have some golden touch. They can just, anything they're going to touch is going to become gold, and it doesn't work that way. They get lifted up in pride, and they get kicked right back down to earth thinking they're so great when they get failure after failure after failure after failure. This is also where you see other people who don't do that, who have one success and another success and successes in many areas because they're not those kind of individuals. They realize, they learn, they grow, They're not expecting that everything they do is perfect, and they take information from other people. They receive input from people. Richard Branson's a good example of this. He's had numerous businesses very unique from one another that have been successful and continue to be successful. But he's very different from other people who just thought that they had everything figured out. They had this one business did really, really well, and so now they don't need anybody else. They can just do it all on their own. People got to listen to them because they have all the information. It never happens that way. You get lifted up in pride like that, you will be humbled. You can learn from many of these business successes. You can learn and grow and improve, but you got to realize that timing is very important. This is why you can try something and it doesn't work now, try it again years later, and all of a sudden it's successful. Or vice versa, where you tried it before it's successful, then you try it again years later and it fails miserably. Timing is very important, but you'll never get in the right position to have timing and chance work in your favor unless you are actively, consistently working towards your goals every single day and having momentum on your side in business, because that's one of the biggest things. That momentum, that it kind of just progresses and gets bigger and bigger, and that's when all of a sudden you see all these things start to happen and work in your favor. It's not really chance, it's not really just timing, it's a compilation of all these things working in your favor, the blessing of the Lord in your life, and your consistent work and effort, and the momentum being built day in and day out. Even those days when there's no progress, or it seems like there's no progress, and you continue forward day in and day out. Now, I should point out, this is one of the reasons why it's important that you do listen to successful people, but you also listen to people who have failed in business. Not that you want to imitate their failure, but you can see points that they have learned in their failure. Also, that maybe they weren't doing anything wrong, the timing was just wrong. Now, many times you get many notices and warnings of this as you're proceeding in the business, that this isn't the right time, something's off, something's not right, and you continue forward and then you end in failure. But it is important to note these people who have tried and then they failed at some of these businesses, their valuable information that they've learned, the information they've gathered, the data they've gathered from that failure can be very valuable to learn. So it's not just where you want to learn from people who have been successful, although that's obviously true, but those people who have failed. What do they have to say? Do they learn anything from it? Can you learn from those experiences? Because the reality is that the most successful people have had numerous failures also before they got to success. And some of them had success, then a failure, then success again, then failure again, and repeating a cycle. I used to tell my associates that I was going to write a book on all my failures, and it was going to be 5,000 pages long, and each page would be an individual failure. Because the reality is, in business, you have all kinds of things you try if you're really pushing for big, huge goals, and a lot of things don't work out. But you learn, you adapt, you grow, you move. One area you thought you were heading towards, and that business completely morphs into something else. But you learn from those failures. And in the end, you eventually build up so much information, so much data, your success is almost guaranteed. You begin to see failure coming and learn how to adapt and get around it and avoid it and completely stop failure in its tracks. And this is something that oftentimes is only learned by experience, but you can learn it by also reading, talking to, interviewing, learning from people who have failed and who have succeeded both. Failure can be learned from. Ideally, you learn from other people's failure, and then you use that to avoid those areas where they made mistakes in and find success for yourself. But don't ever put down learning from someone who hasn't succeeded or doesn't have as much money as you might think is good, or as much acclaim in the world as you might think, because there could be a tremendous amount to learn from them, and truly from anybody. You can learn from anybody. The local cashier at your grocery store could have some valuable information for you to learn. I've talked with people and they've given me information about certain products that have been doing really well, and then I go buy 10,000 of them and see great success. These are things that you don't get if you're just thinking that you know everything. You don't have to listen to other people. You've somehow got success all figured out. While you can know a lot, you always need to be open to new data, new information coming in from any source. Unless the source has been proven wrong time and time again, you need to be wise and open to anybody that's willing to give you some information. I pray this has been a blessing for you. May God bless you richly.